All right, Miss Sharon Robinson, thank you so much for joining us here at Rider University today. It's truly an honor and a privilege to have you here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. Now, Rider is new to me, so I've been already fascinated by what I've heard about the university.
First of all, you're going to speak tonight in our Bart Ludicky Center Theater. Give us a preview of what you're going to go over tonight.
I have a PowerPoint that looks at my father's life and legacy. So they'll have a much broader sense of Jackie Robinson and also his legacy as a result of, I hope, it's my hope.
Well, of course, your father changed a lot of things for African-American athletes, but also just African-Americans in general. So in addition to baseball player, civil rights activist, what else would you describe him as?
Father, husband, writer. He was an activist, advocate. I mean, I could go on and on. You know, Dad had many labels and lived his life as short as it was. He lived it very full. So, and I have to say that he changed things for African Americans, but he changed things for all Americans. So it's a much broader picture. In fact, we were just in Japan, and Yu Darvish was saying, you know, how he considers himself and his ability to cross cultures and come to the United States to play here is also part of the Jackie Robinson legacy. So,
now I have to ask you your opinion of the movie 42, all about your father, Jackie Robinson. How do you think they did with the movie?
Did a great job. It's authentic. Brian Hegelin did a great job writing a script. We knew even from his first script that it was going to be a good project because we'd read a number of scripts and he really captured some key moments, and then the acting was very good, was excellent.
Right from the first scene I noticed that.
Right.
And another thing I noticed about the movie, the unrelenting racism that occurred that they chose to show in the movie, that really...
Philadelphia, that was with Chapman.
Yeah,
Ben Chapman was the manager of Phillies. Yeah, Philly was one of the worst of the stops, right.
And that really tells us really what Jackie went through during those days.
It does. And it also, not just what he went through to me, it also shows the strength of character. I mean, throughout the movie you're really getting, you know, that this was a man who, in spite of the pressure, performed at had top performance, and and held back natural instincts to fight back with fists and words for the sake of the overall experiment, and it just showed a tremendous strength of character.
And that's what Branch Rickey told him not to do, not fight back.
Well, that was their agreement. That was a verbal agreement. Yeah, you really had to. It was important when you're breaking the color barrier, making a significant move like that to, he would have been, because you've, the basic baseball rules. If there's a battle on the fields, they get ejected and can't play for a while. So, when you're really trying to prove that black and whites can work together, it was very important that there be no. If my father didn't fight, there wouldn't have been a brawl or any overall fighting back. So, but he fought back with his great playing. He fought back in many ways. So, I like students to not think of him as someone who didn't fight back, because he very much was a man who fought back, but fought back in productive ways.
And after his first season with the Dodgers, we saw more African American athletes enter Major League Baseball.
Absolutely.
And including Roy Campanella, just one off the top.
It wasn't just African Americans. I mean, remember, it was a color barrier, so you saw Hispanics moving in. At that point, it was mostly Hispanics that were moving in. So if they were brown skinned, they were not allowed to play baseball either. So that's why it was called the color barrier, because it's based just on skin color.
40 years later, starting from 1986, Major League Baseball has seen a decrease of African American baseball players, going nearly half, from 19% in 1986 to 8.5% today. So what do you think needs to be done to get more black baseball players in Major League Baseball?
Well, there's many efforts in place right now, and also the Commissioner has a group looking into it, but Major League Baseball has their own program called the RBI program, which is geared to reach kids in urban areas that haven't been traditionally playing the game of baseball. And we're reaching large numbers of kids, and we have about 200 over 200 cities that are involved in the RBI program. So we're very excited about that. And we're not only seeing them in the youth baseball program, but we're seeing them get drafted and moving into the major leagues. And we have some major league players who were once a part of the RBI program. Now we're sort of trending towards single sports as opposed to multiple sports. So they have to kind of make a choice. So we certainly have kids from 9 to 12, but then holding them after 12 is where you start to see a problem. So it's something that is definitely of concern to the Commissioner of Baseball and also to fans and to those of us who love baseball and want to keep Americans in the game in general. We have so many players coming from other parts of the world, which we want, but we also want to make sure we always have a nice balance.
Now, Commissioner Vasil is, of course, retiring soon.
Oh, unfortunately, yes.
Is that going to have an impact?
Well, it has an impact on, I work with kids. I have a program with Major League Baseball that Commissioner Silic has been tremendously supportive of, and he loves kids, and so, I hope whoever comes in still has that same love for children, because my program is not baseball centered. It's really character building. Baseball is like the subplot, and also it's language arts. So I know I'm sure we will. Whoever comes in will continue to support all the programs that have been started at baseball and have been really successful. And whether it's RBI, Breaking Barriers, or our program to bring in minority suppliers into baseball, all of those programs have had their infancy and growth during Bud Selig's reign, and I hope that they'll continue.
Jackie Robinson Day.
Yes.
In Major League Baseball, April 15th every year.
Yes.
Every single player from every single team, including the managers, wear number 42 in honor of your father.
Correct.
And there was a scene in the movie 42 where one of Jackie's teammates put his arm around him and said, "Hey, maybe tomorrow we'll all wear 42. They won't tell us apart."
Right. And that, was initiated by a player. It was Ken Griffey Jr. called. It was after the number was retired. And he called, asked first for asked our permission, and then called the commissioner. The commissioner loved it, and then he made it. He opened it up to, and then it became mandatory that all players wear. Everybody on field would wear the number 42. But it was really wonderful because in 1997, when they celebrated the 50th anniversary, there were players, black, white, Hispanic, whatever, who would say Jackie who. So it showed not only an understanding of who Jackie Robinson was, but also that he had some impact in their lives, in the lives of contemporary players.
And no other major league sport does that.
No.
That's just incredible.
Yes.
We've all seen really the impacts, everything we just talked about, every impact on the world that your father had.
Mm-hmm.
What impact on the world did he have that you saw, but the rest of the world didn't get to see?
Well, he had impact on us as a family, and he was a very important figure in our home. I remember probably our biggest transition as a family, because we had, when my father retired from baseball in 1957, he started working right away with the civil rights movement. And he was an activist and a motivator, and so his first job with them, although it was a volunteer job, was to raise money for the NAACP. And he crisscrossed the country for a year, raised $1 million that year, and then started doing, he came back in 1963 before the March on Washington. He came home after he would travel south to various crises that were happening, and then come home and tell us about it. And we were watching it on television, and he came home one time and to the dinner table, and he said, "Okay, I've been going south, and you guys, we lived in Stamford, Connecticut. You've been here, you're integrating your schools, we've integrated this neighborhood, but I want us to be involved in the civil rights movement as a family." And, he said, work is important, find your passion, that's where you, work, because you have to spend so much time working, do that. Family's always got to be important, but as a family, we were going to have a mission. And that sort of set the stage for us to, because he died, in '72. So my mother founded the Jackie Robinson Foundation, and it just kind of gave us a family mission that we continue to find our own path within that. But each of us has found a way to have a personal mission that serves others as well as family missions.